starting now, and I'm checking, just double checking to see. Okay, we're on live now also. All right, Michael, before we start the interview, I'm gonna show you something. Okay, let me get this iPad. All right, this is from 2007. This photo right here. That's with you all. Ronald Freeman, Wayne Farr. You guys were doing a workshop at the Southern California Anarchist Gathering.
Yes.
Community organizing.
Wow.
That's look how packed the library was.
Yeah.
That was at the Southern California Library. And I'm going to show you that you might not remember. This was at the first anarchist gathering in 2008.
Oh, yay.
And there's you on the panel with all the original Panthers. You guys were doing a workshop in front of all the punk rockers and anarchists.
Aha.
Community organizing. Oh, here's more interesting too. We were showing 41st and Central on this film right here. And it says, it's really small. You got one of these cards, right? Because we printed 1,000 of them. This is from 2008. And it says, History of Chicago Black Panthers and Community Organizing by Michael D. McCarty.
Oh, man. If I got one, haven't seen it in forever.
Oh, and this one, this is the last one. This is my friend Clyde on the cover. And this event was called Liberation Fall. And it says right here, well, it has your name on it. Oh, here it is. Vegetarianism for Beginners by Michael D. McCarty. You remember you did a workshop on vegetarian for beginners?
Yeah, I remember that. Woo, that was a long time ago.
I don't know if I heard you correctly, but you were saying on the workshop, like, you were making food in your car or something? Did I hear that correctly?
No, I remember making food in my car.
sorry. I was imagining. Okay, we're gonna start the interview now, Michael. And I want to show you this picture because I want you to tell me about this photo right here.
Oh man, that was in the 70s when I was in South Korea in the Army. And I was on the Tae Kwon Do team, the division Tae Kwon Do team.
Black belt, right?
Yeah.
What degree black belt were you?
I was a Chodan, first degree black belt. Oh man, whoa! Oh man, my boys, yeah. 3 of us were on the team together. The other one was a good friend from LA.
So what happened? Did everyone quit Taekwondo now due to age or what?
What? Say it again.
Did everybody quit Taekwondo if you get to a certain age?
Well, I did for a variety of reasons, but one of those guys, he passed away while in Korea.
Oh wow!
And the other one, Hawk, he's in Chicago. The guy up on your left, upper left, Michael Abney, he passed away about a year or so after I got out of the Army. And Hawk is in Illinois. I haven't had any contact with Greg since the Army.
I'm sorry about your friend passing away, but if you don't mind me asking, how did he pass away in Korea?
Well, he lived off the base, and it was wintertime, and they had these little heaters where they used these charcoal things, and the window was closed, and so he was he died in his sleep. He was asphyxiated.
Oh, because the window was closed and the thing was burning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. And
great guy.
Wow. Do normally human beings, do normally we stop doing like martial art at a certain age, or do we keep going? I'm just curious.
Many, it depends. many of my friends, like I said, Hawk and another one of our buddies from then kept on with it. A lot of it is I went to Korea so I could study martial arts, and it led to a great many other things.
Wow.
It took me off in a different path.
So how did because I'm from Korea. I was born in Korea. So how did Koreans treat you there?
Oh, very well. For the most part, I don't remember having any incidents whatsoever. In fact, I had my instructors, my Taekwondo instructors were great and really helped me. My coaches when I was on the division team were great. A friend of mine, Korean guy who worked on the bookstore, on the base, he was an acupuncturist. And that's how I got introduced to acupuncture and would eventually become an acupuncturist.
Wow. Okay, I was just wondering, because during that time, like our culture in Korea, when we take Tae Kwon Do and stuff, we get beatings, but since you were from America, do they treat you like that or differently?
No, we didn't.
Before you became black belt.
Well, we sparred hard. We sparred hard. I sparred hard with my instructor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was no cakewalks.
Wow. You still remember your katas, or is it so many years you don't remember?
Not really. But my grandson is now doing Taekwondo, and so when he comes down to visit, he shows me, and a little bit comes back, and I give him little tips.
All right. Hey, I was wondering why you're not on the Guinness World Record on your cars. Before I show you the picture, I'm gonna go through this first. Here's your car, okay? Your old cars, the new car, you just
yep. That's my current car. That's my current car.
Bumper stickers.
That's the older one. That's the one before this one.
You have so many bumper stickers, top, front, back.
Everywhere.
Like everywhere.
I got them on my sunroof.
How do like people react to these when they see your car?
Well, for the most part, it's very positive. One time I was at Trader Joe's and I came out and this guy was copying down one of the bumper stickers that said, "The more you complain, the longer God makes you live." And I said, "Okay, what's the story?" He said, "This is my mother." He said, "My mother is the meanest person on earth. If you say to her good morning, she'll say, 'What the hell is it to you?'" And he said she had outlived at least one of his brothers, his fathers, and would probably outlive him. So people like it.
Nobody tells about bumper stickers or anything?
I was over in Watts at one of the projects over there, and somebody stole about 5 or 6 of my bumper stickers, most of which had to do with peace.
You have some rare bumper stickers I had never seen before. So I was just wondering. And right now also you do storytelling to kids, and I pulled out some of your photos from like different countries.
Yeah, that's down in Argentina.
And tell me about the story. You're traveling all over different countries and telling stories.
All over the world telling stories. I go all over the world telling and teaching the art of storytelling. Yeah, that was a tour I did in Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay in 2009.
How did you get into doing this, Michael?
Well, with this particular thing or storytelling in general?
This particular thing, just traveling, going to all different countries and telling stories to kids.
Well, since I've been doing this, and between my website and the work I do in conferences and meeting people, I have a reputation. People hear about me, people find me, I'm easy to find. If you look up storytelling, I come up often, and that's how the people there in South America found me.
Oh, wow.
And then I've done stories in New Zealand, in Russia, South Africa, Chile, Panama, all over.
So pretty much, you've been all over the country, traveling.
Yeah, I've been to about 40 countries, something like that.
I'm just curious, do you have like a manager, or do you book it on your own, just do it yourself?
I book it on my own.
Wow. And are you still doing acupuncture now, or did you
No,
just
no,
used
no.
to?
Acupuncture, I did acupuncture. Let's see, I came here in '86 and I did it for a few years. I was trying to get my license here, but then I discovered acupuncture was a vehicle for me, not a destination. It's because of acupuncture that I became a storyteller. And now I deal with people with my words.
Well, Michael, in my whole entire life, I got acupuncture twice. I never believed in acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
They told me, they asked me, why do you want to get acupuncture for? I said I had a hard time sleeping, and I kept thinking about this is not going to work. And they put all these needles in me.
Yeah.
Then about an hour later, I was going home, and while I was driving, because I hanged out for a while, and I was driving, I go, oh my gosh, I feel so sleepy. This is crazy. It's actually working. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so sleepy. It was so crazy. Wasn't that hard to acupuncture because you got to know the whole entire human anatomy?
Well, it takes a lot of study because you have finding those points, finding how to do the needling, all the different techniques and combinations. Yeah, it takes a lot of study.
Wow. But in America, Western doctors and stuff, they don't believe in that acupuncture.
Well, more and more are coming over. More and more are coming over because it's effective. In fact, one of the big boosts for acupuncture actually happened around 1974 when Nixon went to China and one of his party got hurt or injured or had something happen and received acupuncture treatments. And that's started the popularity of acupuncture here in the United States.
Oh, that's the year when Nixon met Mao, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
And I'm just tripping out right now because a lot of the older Panthers and stuff, how is that all these years they continue to do these important work? And like, I'm trying to put an example because some of my activist friends who in the old days, they would say, oh, I have a job, I got to protect my job, I can't say anything. But Panthers all straight out, yep, I was in the Panther, no matter what kind of job, it's straight out. What makes the Panthers so up forward and everything, so proud of all the belief and all that?
One word: commitment.
Uh-huh.
When I was in the Black Panther Party in Chicago, Fred Hampton used to say, there are no part-time revolutionaries. Is you is or is you ain't. And that was the thing: commitment, commitment, commitment.
Wow, this is very interesting because some of the activists I knew in the past, like from the 90s or 80s, as they grow older, they want to hide that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying all, just like, a couple of them, but some of them, but it's really inspiring. All the old Panthers I met, they're so straightforward, even if they have a teaching job or even they're attorney, boom, bam, just like, this is my belief, bam, put it down. It's like walking with the proud. I have a lot of respect for that. And another thing you're doing, tell me about you're doing this at the California prison as part of the arts and corrections program. Program. Can you tell me about this you're doing?
Say it again.
Oh, can you tell me about this, the work you're doing right now?
When I first came into storytelling in 1992, I had a friend who was part of the arts and corrections program then. And I was very excited about it just because of the idea of being able to go into prison, teach these guys the arts, and help them get in touch with themselves. The program ended in the early 2000s and resuscitated in 2014. And that same friend who I first met pulled me into it, as well as another friend. So over the last 6 years, I've been in 12 different prisons up and down the state. And we go in, whatever art form, in my case, storytelling. I teach inmates how to find, develop, and tell their stories. When they go before the parole board, they have to be able to tell their story. When they get out, they go for a job interview. They've got to be able to tell their stories. When they're just reconnecting with family and friends, they got to be able to tell their stories. And all the other art forms, music in various forms, theater, all of these things help people to express themselves, get in touch with themselves. And some of the inmates who get out have gone on to become artists in their own right.
Wow, that's interesting. What are the most reasons that inmates are in there for, in jail?
Oh God, there's so many things people are in for. People are in for minor things, all the way up until to murder, breaking and entering, petty crimes, and things like that. So it's California has 35 prisons.
I watched this documentary long time ago. I think it was Durva Binhua said something like, if you're in this street, you become a community organizer. If you go to jail, you learn how to organize in jail. This is during the Panther days. So when Panthers in the street, they're organized. So they're so street smart. Once in the prison, they organize all the prison inmates and everything. That's incredible that you're still doing this and stuff. And also, a while back, you mentioned about vegetarianism, and you mentioned, I think you said that Earth, Wind, and Fire inspired you. Am I correct?
Well, it was two groups.
Uh-huh.
Earth, Wind, and Fire was one. The other group was Yes, the rock group Yes. But I was actually in Korea in the army, and I was reading this magazine, Circus. And there were two articles, one about Yes and one about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And in both articles, it mentioned that most of the members of the groups were vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of such a concept. So I started my experiments with vegetarianism while I was in the army. Mm-hmm. I would say, oh, tomorrow I'm not going to eat any meat, or next week I'm not going to eat any meat. Mm-hmm. And then when I got out, I stopped eating pork. And then a couple of years later, I stopped eating red meat, and then just progressed.
Wow. Because you mentioned that, Michael, I actually, for the first time 2 weeks ago, I was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I was reading about them. Is there something like the members didn't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes and stuff?
It was very positive. Their concerts were amazing. Their concerts, at the end of an Earth, Wind, and Wind and Fire concert, you turned to whoever was around you. You high-fived, you hugged, you fist bumped, because it was such a beautiful shared experience of joy. Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, when you were in the army, was it hard to be a vegetarian? Was the diet hard to do that? Or?
Well, I wasn't a vegetarian then. Okay. I just got my introduction to it then.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But during that time, so it was such a long time ago, was being a vegetarian hard back then?
Well, when I came out, I got out in December of 75. And like I said, it was a progression over the next few years. Like I said, 77, I stopped eating red meat. 79, I stopped eating fowl. 82, I went to India, and I stopped eating fish. Somewhere in there, I stopped eating eggs too.
That's really interesting about you being in the army, because like other Panthers like Geronimo Pratt, they were in the army first, then just joined the Panther Party. What made you from going to Panthers and joining the army?
Well, it was necessity. So, for those of you who don't know, I was in the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. Joined in 1968. Fred Hampton was murdered December 4th, 1969. And Fred was a dynamic leader. He brought people together. In 1970, I met my wife, my first wife in the Panthers. We got married. And later on in that year, we left the organization. That's a whole nother bunch of stories. But what happened was that about a year after that, the FBI came to me and wanted me to rejoin the party and be an informer. And I told them what they could do with that idea. And they told me that they could make my life difficult. They would, I would work for them or I wouldn't work. So they proceeded to do an enemy of the state on me. They proceeded to destroy my life. And a woman calling my wife like she was my girlfriend, apartment breaks in, jobs, I was let go from a job, or my applications would disappear. And so they were, my phone was ringing all the time. It was just constant. And I was at my wit's end. What am I going to do? So I said, I'm going to join the army. If they're going to watch me, I'm going to go someplace where they can watch me. I'll play soldier and get these people off my ass. Mm-hmm. That's what I did.
Wow. Because in the old days, FBI either murdered or put a lot of Panthers in jail and everything. It's
Or they
crazy.
set people up. They set COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program. They set organizations against each other. They set individuals against each other. Yeah, yeah. If people don't know about COINTELPRO, they need to find out.
Is that why you were passing out that book for free all the time? You gave me a copy of the FBI and
Yep,
everything.
yep. The burglary, the
Yes,
burglary. Yeah,
the
yeah.
burglary.
Yeah.
Yes, that was crazy how these students broke in and found all that stuff. And here's something really interesting, Michael. This is a documentary, a belonging in the USA documentary, the story of Michael D. McCarthy.
Oh yes, 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 yes. Ariel Nobile is the director producer of that.
Well, what is this? All these awards on the bottom.
Oh yeah, well, we were in a lot of film festivals, the Black San Francisco Film Festival, film festivals all over the country. So we got a lot of awards for the documentary.
Tell us a little bit about this documentary.
Sure. So Ariel is a young lady who I've known all her life. Her parents are and were good friends of mine, and also very much an inspiration. My first trip around the world in 1982 was inspired by their trip around the world a couple of years prior. I went to India because Jeff and had spent some time there in India. So Ariel, who was had gone to I think New York University to be a filmmaker, when Trump became president, she wanted to do something. She saw all this stuff going on, people talking about who belongs here, who belongs there. So she wanted to do something to broaden consciousness and awareness. And so she knows, like I said, I've known her all her life. She knows about my life, my travels, my involvement, my activism. And so she decided to do the first documentary on me. The second documentary is going to be about a woman who she and her husband were victims of the disappearances in Argentina during the dictatorships in the 70s. So that's the second documentary. The third documentary is about a young woman whose mother or grandmother, or her mother, was in the Japanese concentration camps during World War II. Wow. So the whole idea behind this belonging is to bring in people from different aspects so you can look at people, see about people's lives.
Wow. Michael, here's the most thing about this film. This is another one. And Mary and I actually saw you in a huge screen at an actual big movie theater.
Oh yeah. Black Panthers, the vanguard of the revolution. Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
After it was on the movie theater, then it was on Netflix. Then after that, Netflix took it down. Then now we have to go to Amazon. And then I think you got to pay for it or something now.
Actually, every February on PBS, it's shown. Every February on PBS, it's shown.
Yeah, but I was blown away. It was in a huge movie theater, like in a huge screen. I was so happy to see you and all
Brooklyn, yeah.
It was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Michael on the screen. Tell us about this film. How did you guys all end up in this film?
Well, the director and the producer of the film, and all of a sudden I have a brain fart and I can't remember anybody's name, but it's right there on your film cover.
Yes.
They decided to do a documentary on the party, and they went around the country and they interviewed folks. And the truth be told, when they interviewed me, I've been interviewed a lot of times. Sometimes something comes of it, sometimes something doesn't. But this time something came of it. And it's a really excellent documentary.
Yeah, the documentary is called The Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. So like when you go grocery shopping or something like that, the people go, hey, I saw you in that film. The people.
Well, actually, I get more notice first in the prisons. Because like I said, they show it on PBS every February, and most inmates either have their own TVs or so PBS is on. And so guys would see me.
Really?
but really more people see me because of my Skittles commercial than that.
Yes, I remember that. The Skittles commercial, that laughing stuff. Yes, I totally remember that and stuff. But I used to live in LA I think I haven't been there for I mean, I once in a while visit there, but I used to live in LA. And all the OG Panthers and Elders, you guys have a Sunday what is it?
The Panther Breakfast, the second Sunday at Simply Wholesome.
Yes, at that it's Simply Wholesome is like a Black-owned vegetarian / cafe and stuff. Is that still going on?
Well, right now, nothing is going on in the restaurants because of COVID.
I totally forgot. Yes, yeah. The pandemic and stuff. Okay, I just want to know what made all the Panthers all these years working from the 60s and 70s for all the elders to still keep in touch, have such a strong bond.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. One, we shared a bond. We were all putting our lives on the line. So even before I came out here in Chicago, I've always been in touch with my comrades from the Black Panther Party. Always. When I came out here and I started to meeting folks who had been in maybe the Black Panther Party here in LA or had moved here from someplace else. And the bottom line is this: for most of us, we're still active. Some of us are in socio-political organizations or politics. A lot of us are lawyers. There were even Panthers who became cops because what was the problem? You had racist cops, you had violent cops. So former Panthers went in and became police officers. But the bottom line was that we all still cared. We all were doing stuff. Me and my storytelling, spreading history and what have you. And so around the country, but especially here in LA, Roland and the folks here organized that breakfast, and it was a great thing. It still is.
What I want to know is, okay, you were in the Chicago Panthers. Chicago, they murdered Fred Hampton, and LA SWAT team came and raided and shootouts and stuff. Normally, activists, when they experience this kind of stuff, they get out of it. Like, I go, whoa, I don't want to deal with it. How come you guys are still involved with like all the killings and jails and?
Well, see, here's the thing. The truth is, most people come into this knowing that those things can and will happen. So you know it from Jump Street when you step off into these things. Now, some people, there was a play in LA in the early in the mid 90s, and this woman had interviewed people. Some people had been in the party, some people had wanted to be in a party but were scared. And there were these two guys, I think they were from Washington, and they heard about the Black Panther Party in Oakland, and they were driving to Oakland. And shortly after they crossed the border into California, one of them said to the other man, "Hey man, the government gonna come after them. They gonna kill them." And they turned right back around and went home. It's a commitment. It's a commitment of time. It's a commitment of your life. All the way from the freedom riders, the civil rights activists, protesters, demonstrators. When you do that, there is not just a possibility, but the probability that you are going to face confrontation and resistance.
Wow.
It's a problem.
Michael, the thing I also want to ask you is, okay, I did a lot of study and research on the civil rights movement. The thing is, my friends, all my background friends since the 80s and 90s are like punk rockers, anti-establishment, against voting. But due to the civil rights movement, Black people fought so hard on voting and died for it and stuff. I was voting when the whole Proposition 187 came, but I had to do it in secret. I didn't even tell my friends I was voting about the proposition and stuff. And I continued voting, but I kind of kept a low profile because all my friends were not all, majority of my friends were against voting and stuff and all that. Panthers pushed voting so much during the 70s, and Bobby Seale and everyone was running it. What's your views on that? People who don't have hopes on voting and say, "Oh, I don't vote, I'm against it. Voting doesn't change anything."
Well, the bottom line is this: you have to. There's a fight. The struggle is going on, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So if you don't want to vote, okay, but look what happens when you don't. All right. There's a book called oh God, I gotta remember. Bad Money. It's about the Koch brothers. Dark Money. It's a book about the Koch brothers. It shows how the right spends millions and millions of dollars to affect the vote. Because even Trump said it recently, and other Republicans said, if the Republicans do not gerrymander and rig the vote, they're not going to win the presidency. They're not going to have as many seats in Congress or what have you. So Bunchy Carter had a poem called Nigga Town. And there was a line in it towards the end: do something. If you only spit, do something. So if political activism is what you want to do and getting people to vote, fine. If you want to instill revolutionary concepts, fine. Whatever you do, do something. But don't just stand around and think, oh, this doesn't affect me. It does. It does. I wish I could give you particulars, but before Hitler came to power in Germany, legally elected, by the way, there were these other organizations that could have come together to keep Hitler from winning. But they were so busy dealing with their petty things, they didn't come together. Hitler won, and you see the result thereof. Wow.
Interesting. I don't live in San Francisco, but last year San Francisco had a ballot on proposition. It was about rent freeze, but it lost though. So not a rent freeze, something about rent control and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't pass or anything like that. But that's very interesting. Also, Michael, another important question I had is, since you were in the original Panther, what's your opinion about the new Panthers forming now in the East Coast, and then they're not following the rules, being homophobic and just being all like, separatist, race separatist, but they're not even doing community organizing, but they're using that name. What's your opinion about that?
Well, unfortunately, many, if not most of these organizations, they didn't get the big picture. They glommed on to the guns. That's what they glommed on to. All right. The whole idea of organizing, one of the things, in fact, the thing about the Black Panther Party is that the Black Panther Party evolved. When Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale started the party, it was just to patrol the police. And then as they started getting more involved, they saw, okay, look at our communities. Our communities, that people don't have food. Kids are going to school hungry. We don't have good medical care. So it's okay, how can we address these needs? And those were the things that made the party dangerous. You've heard me say this before. J. Edgar Hoover said the most dangerous thing the Black Panther Party did was our Breakfast of Children program and our service programs, because we were providing services for our communities. And then with the Rainbow Coalition, other communities were doing the same. American Indian Movement, the Young Lords, the Young Patriots, and what have you, started doing it all over. And those were the things that the government was frightful of. Most of these other wannabe type organizations, they glom onto one thing, and that's it. They don't do anything for the community.
I kind of noticed that in the old days, but I want to know, in the old days, how was Panther so good at bringing everyone together, including brown berets and Asian groups, even white groups? They were working with white groups and stuff.
Yeah,
but
Young Patriots in Chicago, right, and Rising Up Angry also in Chicago. See, here's the thing. Fred Hampton's speeches, and I encourage anybody to Google Fred Hampton and listen to some of his talks. He was an amazing inspired. He said, you don't fight racism with racism, you fight racism with solidarity. And on YouTube, you can go see American Revolution 2, and you can see Bob Lee at the Young Patriots, these hillbillies with black berets with little Confederate flags on them. All right, you can see Bob Lee at a meeting talking about why we should be working together instead of fighting against each other. That was the other thing that made the Black Panther Party dangerous. Okay, here's something, I don't know if you know about this. So the party had been going in Chicago, and we had Breakfast with Children programs all over the city. So a couple of sisters from the party were meeting with these businessmen to get donations for the breakfast program. And so they did their presentation, and I'm pretty sure these were all white businessmen, millionaire types. And here's what they said. You're not violent enough.
Wow.
If you will engage in violent altercations with other Black organizations, we will give you all the money that you want.
Wow.
Okay? Now, I'm sure that offer went out to other organizations, so-called Black organizations, like one here in Los Angeles, who took that money.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Another crazy thing I want to ask you is this: why were there so many undercover cops and informants in the Panther Party? How was it so easy for the FBI and police to infiltrate the Panthers in the old days?
Well, when the party first started, we're making this up as we go along. All right, we're learning. So people came, people applied with political education classes, what have you, and you were a member of the party. And so it was some time. I mean, we understood that there would be infiltration. We understood that would happen. But this was, again, we're doing this all for the first time. So there were chapters of the party that were started by FBI plants, FBI informants. William O'Neill, our head of security in Chicago, was an FBI plant.
He's right. He's the one who did the layout to murder.
Did the layout, and he's also the one who put 6 times the lethal dose of Seconal in Fred Hampton's Kool-Aid the night before the raid. That's why he never regained consciousness during the raid.
Wow, that's insane. Speaking of the Fred Hampton, what was Fred? I mean, I don't see these now, but in the early days, all the books I read and the documentary films I saw, Panthers are getting gangs on the street to become revolutionaries. These days, I don't see that with activists and stuff. How are the Panthers so good at doing that? Is it because they were from the tough neighbor?
Well, there were several factors. One, just knowing that these groups out here, these gangbanging groups out here, they have something, they have organization. And if they could become political, it would help the community. So that was the impetus to reach out. Now, here's the other thing that happened. So we had COINTELPRO that was trying to disrupt that. The FBI, when the Black Panther Party in Chicago was trying to connect with the Black Keystone Nation, the Black Stone Rangers in Chicago, FBI plants would send letters, they'd make phone calls to each group saying that the other one was a setup. But the other thing is this: some of the gangs did make a shift, did become political, and they were crushed. They were absolutely crushed and destroyed. All right? So as long as you gangbanging out here, you're victimizing the community, you're fine. You try to become political, we will tear you down.
Wow, that's crazy. Like Bungie Cutter from Slossons.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Bunchy brought them in. The Vice Lords on the west side of Chicago were an organization. They became political for a time, and they were crushed.
Wow. Michael, I have to tell you, the only time I really saw that to eye to eye was when Michael Zinzin was alive, when he had the community support of the Gang Truth Office, Coalition Against Police Brutality. He was giving gangbangers jobs at a big dome. They had screening, and he did an open house for us. Wow, that was a thing that shocked me. I go, wow. But nowadays, you don't see anything like that. The gangbanger being in political. I'm sure there is, but we don't really see it.
It's different time, different vibe, different. There were connections that happened, like with you mentioned Bunchy and the Slossons.
Yes.
So when the folks in the Panthers connected with him, he brought this whole group in the organization, and again, he was ultimately killed for that.
So, some people are saying Panthers are more needed now than back then. Do you believe that?
Well, the need is always. The need is always. The truth of the matter is we're in a continuum. Ever since Blacks were enslaved, ever since there's been oppression, there's always been a need for people to stand up against it. Always. And there are ebbs and there are flows. There are times when the 60s was a great time. People all over the world, making movements here locally, African nations standing up against colonialism, what have you. There are waves. They come and they go, but so it'll come again.
Speaking of the 60s, Michael, is this true? Okay, I went to this, it was some kind of big festival reunion in Hayden-Ashbury. It's like a huge street fair. So I was hoping to see all the old hippies, and I didn't see that many old hippies. It was all like young folks. Yeah. And I asked somebody, hey, where's all the original hippies? And he said that most of them are dead due to drugs. Is that true? A lot of the original hippies are dead due to drugs.
Well, some, but the truth of the matter is, you have to remember, man, I'm getting ready to be 70 years old. All right. And there were folks in the movement before me. So those folks are in their 80s and what have you. And one time I was talking with Roland, we were at an event, maybe I think it was one of the Panther breakfasts or one of the events, and somebody there was talking about a demonstration that was going on. And we were joking and said, man, we ain't going to no demonstrations because we can't run. We too old. We can't run, so you won't see us out there in the street roaming.
My gosh, I'm glad you mentioned the demonstration, Michael. I got to bring this up. This happened to me a couple times. When I saw it at the demonstration, I didn't agree with it, so I left. Because in the old days, when I saw Panthers protesting, they never block traffic. They never do dangerous stuff like that. I mean, I just feel weird these days. A lot of young kids, when they protest, they just go and block traffic. I know, I mean, I'm not against it, but to me, I just thought, oh, this is like kind of embarrassing and kind of like not just embarrassing. It could put us in danger.
And you're victimizing people who are victims already. All right. So that's become that when you have leadership, experienced leadership, that can guide people into functional protesting ways. A lot of things are spontaneous, but then too, and you always have to remember this, there will always be provocateurs. There will wherever you have a movement of some sort, there will be people who will try to get people to do stuff that is either dangerous or stupid, in hopes that people get hurt, people get in jail, or people get turned off.
Michael, speaking of dangerous, when I was living in LA, I'm not going to mention the group's name, but they were trying to go on the freeway to block, and I was going, "What the fuck?" And it's just crazy going to the freeway. And the thing is, I'm mentioning this is, I saw the reaction of people face in the car. They get really angry, and they think all the protests are like that. So, wow, this whole new generation, I would wish they would get more into like for the people, doing it for the people, not just I'm right. This is my politics. This is where I stand. Just think. I wish they would think about everybody. But has this happened to you before? Because this has happened to me a couple times. Like I went to a protest, and then I go, "Oh God, this is so embarrassing. I'm getting the hell out of here."
Yeah, yeah. It's people don't know. People are finding their way, and you do stuff without thinking of the consequences thereof. You do stuff without thinking of the consequences thereof. People have to think about the consequences and who it's affecting.
The only thing is sometimes it's hard to work with groups and organization is sometimes when a lot of younger kids, if you don't agree with them or something, if you speak out openly, they get in a wolf pack style and like get all mad and stuff. Was it like that in the 60s too, or was it different?
Well, I don't know. There are always disagreements. There are always arguments. There are always splits that happen. I mean, splits happen in organizations. Huey P. Newton, Eldridge Cleaver. All right. Splits happen because of differences in strategy and tactics. Those things can happen. Those things can happen. It's how you recover from those things that is the difference.
How do you think, since you mentioned Eldridge Cleaver, I read a couple of his books, but how do you think the Panther would have went if you guys went with Eldridge Cleaver way, like total revolution, arms over, and drop all the community organizing?
Well, it wasn't going to happen. Obviously, it didn't happen. Again, people have philosophical differences, and sometimes they're resolved, sometimes they're not. But like I said, the bottom line is the things that were dangerous were the things. I mean, when you think about it, the idea of this organization of however many hundreds of Black folks with some guns going up against the United States, but when you start instigating thought, you start getting people to think differently, to look differently, to see, okay, look at this, see this. That's dangerous. That's what the powers that be fear. You getting people to think, you getting people to forget about their petty differences and to come together for a larger purpose. That is dangerous.
And shoot, my brain froze for a sec. So, but you were talking about Fred Hampton earlier. You always talk about Fred Hampton. What was Fred Hampton like when you hanged out with him?
Tell you something, man. Fred was the epitome of commitment. Fred was the epitome of love for the people. And there are any number of leadership skills. Some people are good organizers. Some people are good speakers. Some people are good motivators. Some people are visionaries. All right. Fred was all that and then some. So Fred had that ability to see beyond. I mean, the whole idea of the Rainbow Coalition, all right? Him sending people to go and say, okay, we need to talk to these white folks because we need to be working together. To have that kind of a vision and to be a motivator, man. He was a powerful speaker. Google some of his speeches, you'll see that. But he was an organizer. He thought about things. And this is important, he was able to recognize when he had made a mistake or was wrong about something. Many of us, we know we're wrong, but we're not going to change because, no, we're going to keep up the front. Fred was able to see, okay, this was wrong. We ain't going to do this no more. We're going to do something different. That's powerful.
What was the age of the Panthers back then? The age
Most of us were high school and college students.
Wow, that is incredible. Being in high school and doing community organizing and stuff. I don't know what these days high school kids think now, but that's really, really incredible doing that. Okay, we know that all the Panthers did all the great community work, all political stuff and all that. But what do you guys do for fun in the weekend? was there any like disco clubs, go dancing, or anything? You gotta do something fun, Michael. Not always be all political and stuff.
No, but folks hung out. You know something? The truth of the matter is, 24/7, we were committed. So our days started usually at 4 or 5 in the morning, because we'd have to go to whatever breakfast program that we were involved in. Then after the breakfast program, we'd go back to the office for whatever cadre we were on to do whatever work, information, education, health, what have you. Then we go out, we'd sell papers. We had our political education classes. We had our community service and our interaction with other folks. Man, I mean, so our days went from, let's say, 4 a.m. till midnight.
Wow.
So if we had some free time, man, we were sleeping.
Okay, speaking of the breakfast program, Panther breakfast program was free. You guys give it out free food, free breakfast for the kids. Then later on, the United States government took the breakfast program, they put it in school, but they charged money. How come you guys didn't sue the school district and the government for taking that idea from Panthers, but except they're charging money for breakfast?
Well, there was no mechanism for that. There was no organization for that. And ultimately, I think that, I mean, in many places, those programs ultimately would become free for the children. But the main thing is that breakfast program instigated something that made a change. Just like the same thing with our free medical clinics. There were a lot of free medical clinics that came up after ours because we had them, and that inspired other people to create those things.
Wow. What was the most best memory from Panther? Something that's fun and like it will always stay in your heart. No, not this like organizing or making pancake for kids, not like that, but something that's fun and it will always stay in your heart.
I think playing basketball in combat boots.
What, you guys always have combat boots on, no matter what?
Well, not always, but for in Chicago, for instance, in Chicago, our uniform was different than in California. In California, it was a black leather jacket, a blue shirt, black pants, black shoes. In Chicago, we wore field jackets, a t-shirt or a sweater, blue jeans, and combat boots. And so we would, near our office at 2350 West Madison in Chicago, there was a school not too far, just the next block or so away, and we would go over there to practice drill practice and things like that. And after the drill practice, we play basketball. So we're playing basketball in combat boots.
In Chicago, the summer gets very, very humid.
Yes.
What was a Panther uniform in the summertime that is so humid?
Well, basically, there are two factors. One, like I said, combat boots, the blue jeans, and the t-shirts. You took off the field jacket during the summer. But here's the other thing, and this is another thing that a lot of these Panther wannabe organizations miss. After a while, uniforms were only worn for rallies and events and speaking engagements and things like that, because our uniforms made us an easy target. All right. So it got to the point where on a day-to-day basis, people didn't wear a uniform. All right.
Wow. Tell us about when all the women in the Panthers, when all the like feminist women got involved and everything.
Well, the sisters in the party were bad, man. The sisters in the party were bad, and they were as active. There was no distinction. Everybody did the breakfast program. Everybody did the health thing, what have you. Everybody had to learn about weapons. Everybody had to do security. That's what it was.
It was a different time back then, but how did males like did they like trip out because it was a difference when all the women?
Oh yeah, of course.
How did you guys deal with that with the males who have like sexist attitudes?
You need to ask the sisters about. You need to ask some of the sisters about that, how they dealt with it, because they're the ones who tell you about it.
Okay. Sure stuff. So in the 60s and 70s, did you guys hang out with the hippies and stuff or anything like that?
There was an organization called the White Panther Party.
Yes.
They were headquartered in Michigan, and John Sinclair, I think, was the head of that organization. And they were basically mother country hippie types and somewhat activists, because their whole thing was free love and weed and what have you. But they too, over time, became more political.
Wow. During that time, did you see Jimi Hendrix or Grateful Dead or The Doors or anyone like that?
No, I didn't. No.
Uh-huh.
Because, see, no. Most of that was on the West Coast.
I'm just asking you because you live in a historical time. Now let's go to the 70s when the whole Saturday Night Fever, disco was popular. Actually, I was listening to Saturday Night Fever album recently.
Staying alive.
Please tell me you went to those disco clubs. Did you go to any of those disco clubs?
Nah, nope.
Wow.
We did house parties.
I'm going to show you something. Flashback. Saturday Night Fever album.
Yes, indeedy.
George Benson.
Oh, yeah.
I used to be a fan. I only liked George Benson when he was doing jazz. Did you ever see George Benson live when he was?
Yes, I did.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Okay, this one's a bootleg, Michael. This is another early George Benson.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of the great jazz and got to see Miles. Yeah.
How do you like music nowadays? Like, are you into anything new, or do you listen as we grow older? Do you always listen to old stuff?
My favorite music is old school R&B. Yeah, I like jazz, old school rock, classic rock, reggae, and every now and then something new filters in, what have you, but mostly old school.
Okay, now let's talk about books. What are your favorite 5 books you recommend?
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll tell you about 5 books that have been important for me. The first was Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Okay.
I read that shortly after it came out, and that shifted my whole mindset. Another book, Before the Mayflower, Lerone Bennett. Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon. And then just to shift, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. That was another book that was important for me in terms of my spiritual growth and development. And give you one more. Well, there's a book, I have a lot of books that I like, but for anybody who wants to be a writer, if you are interested in writing, I recommend this book.
Oh, wow. Michael, what about the book you're working on? What's going on with that? How much % are you done with your book?
I'm working on the editing. Oh, but let me finish something.
Okay.
Louis L'Amour is known for his Westerns. I've never read any of his Westerns. But this book, he talks about how and why he became a writer. And if you're someone who wants to write, I highly recommend this book. It's been a great inspiration for me. My book, I hope once I get some things settled, I'll get back to editing because I didn't have time. I was in prisons as many as 6 days a week for most of these last 6 years.
Wow. Are you writing, or did you get a ghostwriter for this?
No, it's me. It's me. Nobody can tell my story but me.
Wow. Did you already get the book publisher already?
I have a publisher, yes. I have a publisher. I just got to finish the editing.
Wow. Okay, Michael, now I got to ask you, I don't want this, okay, I got to ask you the stupidest question. I talked to Mary about this because she studied psychology in the past and everything. Okay, people keep saying, read books, you're going to be very smart, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know, which is true. How is it? Okay, the stupid question is, since you've been to China, how is a Mongol Empire with Genghis Khan? They're illiterate. They couldn't even read. They can't even fucking read or anything. How could somebody who has no education, who couldn't read, but they invaded China in history?
Because they were some badass warriors and they were organized.
Uh-huh.
They were organized. That's why organization is such a key thing.
All right, just wondering. Okay, so my father, many years ago, when I was a kid, he was in the military like you were. First, he was in the Marines. Then later on, he was in the Army. Then he got into all this jazz music. And when I was a little kid, he had all these collection of Motown records. He was listening to nothing but Motown stuff. Were you into that too?
Oh, very much, man. Yeah, Smokey Robinson, Temptations, the Regal Theater in Chicago on 47th South Park. Yeah.
Do you still have all your original Motown 7-inch and everything?
I lost all my Chicago stuff. Was lost and stolen or destroyed.
Man. Wow. Just wondering if you have all the collection stuff. Okay, now I want to ask you this. As we grow older, this is like advice. What kind of advice would you give to us? Because everybody, no matter who human being, we get older, we age and stuff. What kind of life advice would you give?
One, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of your health. Take care of your finances.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know something, find somebody that does, or read a book and learn something. But the most important thing is you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your health. You got to watch what you eat. You got to watch what you put into your body. When you're young, you can eat anything, do anything, stay out all night, all that. As you get older, it don't work like that. So look out for yourself. Take care of yourself.
Speaking of take care of yourself, do you smoke cigarettes?
No, never.
That's good. And no drugs either, right?
Nope.
See, I don't drink, smoke, no drugs, but once a week I do caffeine. Do you consider that drug? Because
caffeine is the nectar of life.
All right. My parents passed away a long time ago, but as we grow older, we see our parents passing away or our friends dying for health reasons, other things. How did you deal with seeing a lot of these deaths and stuff? How did you personally deal with it to overcome that?
Well, you have to. I just lost my brother a month or so ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's the thing about life is that it's a limited thing. It's a limited time. And you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy those who are important to you in your life. Mm-hmm. So you celebrate those lives, you keep their memory alive, and that's that.
One thing that blew my mind is during that breakfast when Mr. Wayne Farr was alive, we were having a normal conversation and he was talking about the old days, and it just kind of scared me. It always stuck in my head. Wayne Farr, he snapped his finger. He goes, "Yeah, that was me when I was young. My life went just like that. Snap a finger."
Yeah.
Is it like that for a lot of older? Does it feel like yesterday, everything when you were young?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you look around and all of a sudden you're like, damn, I've been 70 years around the sun. And I look back in fondness because I have good memories. I've made some good friends.
Do you think because of your good diet, no drinking and no smoking, so you don't look your age or what? Just wondering.
It runs in the family. None of us look. My sister just turned 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my sister just turned 90. So it's part of it is taking care of yourself. Part of it is having good genes. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I asked this to another punk band before when I did the interview, but I want to ask you this because I want to know what you would say. What would you tell young Michael if you could go take a time machine and you see yourself?
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. What does that mean? Just wondering.
Well, it's just I can look back on my life and see how all the ups, downs, and sideways in my life have led me to where I am right now. I wouldn't be here right now, and I like where I am in my life. And I wouldn't be here right now without all of those things that went a good, bad, and what have you. All right. So you continue to struggle. You keep on keeping on. You do what you have to do. You do what presents itself in the moment. And you keep trying to help people. You keep trying to enrich lives.
Last two questions. How is that all these years you don't get burned out? What's your secret? Like some people, when you do something, or example, if I do activism, sometimes I burn out. I got to take a break. How is that you continue to all these years?
Well, it's important that you take breaks. But here's the thing. You never know what little thing that you say or do, how it will impact someone or some group of people. So I'll leave you with this story. In the 90s, I was at a funeral in Leimert Park of a friend. I saw this guy across the room or across the street, and I said, well, we had a mutual friend. Let me introduce myself. And as I walked towards him, he says, what's your name? I said, Michael McCarty. He said, you're from Chicago? I said, yeah. He said, you went to St. Finbar, the elementary school I'd gone to. Come to find out, he was 4 years behind me. And when he was in 8th grade, and I had just gotten kicked out of high school for leading a walkout, his 8th grade teacher, who had been my 8th grade teacher, asked me to come and talk to his class. And I went and told them stories about Black history, the struggle, the civil rights, Black power movements, and what have you. He proceeds to tell me how the stories I told him that day affected his life and the lives of several of his classmates.
Wow.
You never know.
I have to say, out of all elders and original Panthers I talked to, you're the one with the most spirit and smile and with the good energy and everything, Michael. And there was this, oh gosh, I forgot this quote. Before I go, there was this really cool quote. You put it on social media, or I don't know what it was. It was some kind of African proverb. You said something like, when elders die, the story. I forgot what it was. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? When elders pass away.
The quote is, it goes something like this. When the elder passes, it's like a library has been burned down.
Yes, that one. That is so, yes. Wow, yeah. That's incredible. Okay, before we go, can you just tell us a short story? So let's give us a sample of a short story.
Okay. This is one of my favorite stories. I'm sure you heard me tell this story. It's a African-American folk tale called Hi John and the Christmas Turkey. They used to say of Hi John, he wouldn't pick cotton, he wouldn't bale hay. He wouldn't take a beating, but he wouldn't run away. You see, John was a trickster, and he was usually tricking old massa. It was the day before Christmas, and every year at Christmas, John had the task of preparing a Christmas turkey for old massa and his family. Now, you can be sure that most of that turkey ended up in John's belly. Old massa and his family, they be eating possum. So Master decided he was going to get him. He was going to trick John. So he called them the day before Christmas and said, John, yes, sir, Master, you going to fix that Christmas turkey? Yes, sir, Master, I'm going to fix that turkey. We're going to do something different this year, John. Whatever you do to that turkey, we going to do to you. He thought, if I pluck that turkey's feathers, they'll skin me alive. If I chop off that turkey's head, ultimate haircut. John was quick of wit, came up with a plan. Christmas Day, all Master and his family, they all in this joke. They all sitting out on the porch. Here comes John down the road with that turkey, feathers, and head intact. Master said, John, yes, sir, Master. Remember what I told you? Yes, sir, Master. Let me see, I got this here right. Whatever I do to this here turkey, y'all, all y'all, gonna do to me. That's right, John. What you gonna do? Well, Master, I'm gonna show you. He picked that turkey up, set it up on the porch, grabbed that turkey by the tail feathers, raised him up, and kissed it smack dab in the ass. Then he turned to old Master and his family, pulled out his pants, and said, y'all take your time now. I ain't going nowhere. And that's the end of that.
That's cool. Michael, before we go, I got to show you this shirt. In Oakland, I've been going to all different Panther events here.
Yeah.
This all happened.
I love it.
established in 1966.
That was it, October 1966.
Yes.
Right on.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much, and I'm gonna post this on YouTube and
All
everything,
right.
and I'll keep in touch with you online. All power to the people.
All
Michael.
power to the people. The struggle continues.
Dare to struggle, dare to win.
Right on.
All right. Thank you for the interview, Michael. I have much respect to you and all the OG Panthers. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.